Joining me, Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise, House Majority Leader. All right, Steve Scalise, there he goes again. He is saying the House Republicans want to crash into Social Security, Medicare, and you're going to default on the debt. So I'm just going to ask you, is that true?
No, it's not, Larry. And most importantly, Joe Biden knows it's not true, and he keeps saying it because he wants to scare the American people. But let's talk some facts. Joe Biden spent trillions of dollars doing things like paying people not to work. Now, when he did that, you were rightly critical of that. Going back the last 2 years when everybody's looking for workers, Joe Biden was paying people not to work and millions of people took him up on it. Those people are not paying into Social Security. So Joe Biden's proposals have actually undermined Social Security and expedited the bankruptcy of Social Security. We voted against it because we don't want that to happen. We don't want Social Security to be jeopardized like Joe Biden has done as president. And so he pushed those policies. But Larry, you know this. Joe Biden has a history of creating crises and then blaming other people. He shut down American energy production, prices skyrocketed, and then he tried to blame everybody under the sun. The American people didn't buy it. He opened up America's border. Millions of people flooded in. Every day in America, 300 young people die from fentanyl overdoses because of Biden's open border, and he's trying to blame everybody under the sun for it. At some point in time, this president's going to need to look in the mirror and take account for the mistakes he's made and the failures he's made that are hurting American people. We're going to hold him accountable, Larry, and I think that's what he doesn't like the most.
You know, Steve Scalise, a couple things. First of all, your point about workfare and work requirements, that's a really brilliant point, because if all these federal social welfare programs had work requirements, people come back to work. There may be 7, 8 million, there may be 10 million people who would come back to work. So they would come back to work, they would produce income, and the income, even at low tax rates, would produce revenues, which would help Social Security and Medicare. They'd be paying more into it, and the whole federal budget deficit would come down. Right there, that whole workfare issue is just so terribly important to help the big entitlements and to lower the deficit. But, Steve, I just want to come back to this. In your judgment, you know Biden, okay, and you're in a position of power. You're the majority leader of the House now. Why does he, and, you know, Jeffries is doing it and Schumer is doing it, they keep repeating that the House Republicans are going to cut Social Security and Medicare and are going to default on the debt? It ain't true. I mean, I'll let you say it again. Why do they keep repeating it? And in your judgment, will that happen? I'm repeating the question again, just to be give as much clarity as I can.
First of all, Larry, this is the definition of what Saul Alinsky laid out in his book, Rules for Radicals. They have followed that playbook for years, going back to President Obama. They accuse the other side of things they're actually doing so that people don't look at what they're doing. And history is replete. We can get you example after example. And I mentioned just a few that Joe Biden himself has done. But again, they know this. They know it's a lie, and yet they still keep telling it. This is the president who was just a few months ago on 60 Minutes saying that it was irresponsible for a president to have classified documents. At the time, he knew he had classified documents in his garage. He just didn't think you would find out about it, Larry. And so now the American people are finding out about it, and they're trying to act like it didn't happen. This is what they've done over and over again. They want to scare people. They talk about the debt ceiling. Joe Biden went on the biggest spending spree in our nation's history the last 2 years, racking up trillions of dollars in spending and debt. And then he maxed out the credit card. The nation's debt limit is the nation's credit card. He maxed it out. And now he just wants us to add a couple more $1 trillion so he can go spend more money. And like I said, these things have actually not only led to inflation, but when Joe Biden is getting rid of those welfare requirements, paying millions of people not to work, they're not only are they not working, they're not paying into the Social Security Trust Fund. Social Security works. Seniors paid into it their whole life. They retired. They earn that benefit, but the benefit continues on because younger people work and pay into Social Security. When Joe Biden is paying them your tax dollars to sit at home and not work, they're not paying into Social Security. That, what Joe Biden did, undermines Social Security. So he did it. He doesn't want to get the blame for it. So he just says by blaming Republicans, he thinks the problem will go away. It's not. We're going to push back on it. We're going to hold up a mirror in front of Joe Biden to the American people and say he's the one who did that. You see it at gas stations. He did it. You know, right now we've got a bill on the Strategic Petroleum Reserve today. The president has raided it. We say if you raid it, you're going to have a plan to refill it. He issued a veto threat, and in his veto threat, he says that his plans have lowered gas prices. Larry, gas prices are up 50% since Joe Biden took office. Yet in his veto threat, he says he's lowered gas prices. Now, just by him saying it, does that make it true? Families know when they're paying 50% more. The president can say whatever he wants. It's an increase of 50%. I know it's been a long time since he's filled his Corvette up with gasoline, but if he did today, it's going to cost him 50% more than before he was president of the United States because of his policies.
Okay, great point. I just want to repeat, I think your work requirement point is really a brilliant point. And I hope when you all get through regular order on the budget resolution and so forth, that workfare goes into these social welfare programs, because it's, I mean, I will bet you,
it's
Steve,
got to be restored.
Yeah.
Look, we all believe in a safety net, Larry, for people that fall on hard times.
Yep.
Nobody thinks that you should have to pay for somebody else sitting at home who's able-bodied and is able to work. They're 35 years old. They just don't want to work. That's their right. They're an American. It's not your right to pay for them to sit at home. And by the way, by them sitting at home, they're not paying into Social Security, and that makes it less stable. That's what Joe Biden has done. That is
just a huge point. And I would bet if the benefit structure is expanded to include work requirements, you'll save $1 trillion. You might save a couple $1 trillion. We'll all have to do our homework on that.
And we'll strengthen Social Security.
That's right.
And I would just venture to say Joe Biden would probably oppose that policy. No. So who is trying to hurt Social Security? Of course it's Joe Biden. And yet he'll try to blame anyone else because he doesn't want to be held accountable. We're going to hold him accountable.
It's a great point. Let me come back to H.R. 21, I think it is, on this energy. Why don't you walk us through? So, first of all, I'm sorry, my bad. I just want to say the Strategic Petroleum Reserve should have nothing to do with gasoline prices. That was not the intent of that legislation in the 1970s. And it's amazing to me that Biden and Granholm and them are all saying, oh, my goodness, if we stop selling Spro, gasoline price will go up. Gasoline, I mean, they're admitting what we all knew, that this is a political fix using a program that was built for national security and the occasional emergency. I mean, I think that's a very bad admission on their part. Now, Steve, you're going to you've got a very clever program here. Can you just walk us through it briefly?
Yep. Yeah. What this bill that we're taking up today and tomorrow on the House floor, House Resolution 21 does, is it says if the president raids the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, he's got to show a plan to the country about how he would replenish it, how he would actually put oil back in. And look, as you point out, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is like the nation's piggy bank for oil. You know, if you've got a piggy bank and you raid it, you didn't just increase your salary. You've taken away your rainy day fund, whatever you might have used that for in an emergency. It's there for an emergency. If there's a hurricane that hits the Gulf, disrupts the oil markets, you've got oil there to make sure you can continue to flow oil to your refineries, to keep the supply going. It's not there to mask bad policies. And so Biden has raided 40% of our nation's reserve, and he hasn't even attempted to try to replenish it. And while he's been raiding the reserve, gas prices have gone up, Larry. Again, the president said in his letter, his veto threat to us, that his plans to raid, or his attempts, or not attempts, his raiding of Spro has lowered gas prices. Maybe he hasn't been to the pump lately. We surely have. 50% higher is what people are paying for gasoline while he's been raiding our reserves to the tune of 40%. So he doesn't understand energy policy. His brilliant experts are flying to Davos on private jets telling you not to use fossil fuels. You know, this is the hypocrisy of the left every single day. How about we just allow Americans to supply our own energy so we don't need to be relying on foreign countries? And by the way, if you want to reduce carbon emissions and save the planet, we make energy cleaner than anybody else in the world. Let's make more energy here, not less. The president's policies have been misguided. It's why gas prices are 50% higher since Joe Biden took the oath of office.
Steve Scalise, just the last one. I'm still hoping for my H.R. 1 or my H.R. 2 to unlock the energy spigots. I know I got a smile out of you. Yes, Kevin McCarthy.
We're both pushing for this. We're getting closer, Larry. Don't give up. Don't give up hope.
Leasing, I mean, I'm glad, leasing on federal lands is good to go in the SPRO bill. But you need the permitting, right, for the fracking and the pipelining and the refinery. You need a permitting bill.
You need leases, you need permits, you need pipelines.
Yes.
You need an all-of-the-above energy strategy so that he doesn't have to fly on Air Force One to Saudi Arabia anymore and beg the Saudi princes for oil. We can make it all right here, cleaner than anybody else in the world, and it'll lower the price of gas at the pump.
So my HR 1 is still alive. I can listen. I'm willing to do HR 2.
Keep pushing, Larry.
I'll do HR 2.
It could be HR 1 and HR 2. There's so much good policy there on robust energy strategy. Kathy McMorris Rogers, Bruce Westerman, our chairman of the committees are ready to go. We're starting to work on that legislation already, and in the next few months you'll see it on the floor. I hope Joe Biden joins with us. If he wants to lower energy costs, that's how you do it. The things he's done have actually raised prices by 50%.
On everything. I mean, it permeates refined.
And he calls that a reduction.
Refined petroleum
Maybe
effects.
he had the chart upside down, Larry, because he said it was a reduction. A 50% increase, Mr. President, is not a reduction. You might want to go back. Maybe it was Common Core math. I don't know, but they got the numbers wrong. Maybe he'll rescind the veto threat once he realizes how wrong he was.
Steve Scalise, and it's a pleasure to call you Majority Leader. Thank you for coming on and giving us your time. We
Always
appreciate
great being with you, Larry.
You bet. Take care.